This video is proudly sponsored by Academy Brushware, giving you a quality start for a quality finish. There are three things that folks usually ask when they first see the Tintanic. Did you do this? How long did it take? And how do you move it? In this video, I will answer all of these burning questions that y'all are asking. My name is Gino Hart and I'm the designer of the Tintanic, the largest Titanic model in Africa, made of tin. It took me 3 years to construct the model of the Titanic, and a lot of people will usually come up to the model and show me their brains. The first thing that they normally bring up, if they notice it, is the slight name change from Titanic to Tintanic. Why on earth would I do something like this, you might ask? It doesn't have to do with some copyright and therefore I can't use the name Titanic. There are thousands of Titanic models in the world and I wanted mine to be unique, to stand out from the crowd. It's perfectly legal and okay to call it the Titanic, but the additional N in the name created a copyright for me as the artist. It set the model aside from all other Titanic models in the world and refers to the material that the Tintanic was made out of, namely tin. We also call her Tin for short. It was actually a very clever marketing idea. To intentionally misspell the name immediately draws attention. Every person who gets it fully understands the quirk. I didn't set out to build a 100% accurate replica of the Titanic. This isn't a model built to satisfy a rivet counter, as they're called. This is a work of art, and her existence stems from a very interesting background story. The Titanic and I came from a tiny rural town in the Free State called Villiers. It has a population of approximately 1,003 residents. When I started this project, I had already built various prototypes out of cardboard boxes and any other materials I could get my hands on in different shapes and sizes. But Tintanic began life as a coffee tin and 2 pop rivets. I didn't even own a drill at the time. Everything about her has been sponsored by various corporate companies and she is willed into existence. Because out of the small town of Villiers, you only have a select range of employment opportunities. You're either going to end up being a mechanic, sit behind a till, or you're a barman. Tintanic was the most far-fetched thing to come out of there. Ever since I first heard the name Titanic, I wanted a model of my own. And we were so poor that there were no model shops in Villiers. There were no other Titanic enthusiasts around, especially in that little town. There was a single book in the town library by Wayne Craig Wade titled Titanic, End of a Dream, and I was the only one who ever borrowed that book. That book was on my person 24/7, 12 months a year. I did all my book reports on it. So bringing the Titanic into existence and into the world was a very special project for me. James Cameron once said, "Unless you're breaking new ground, what's the point?" This was exactly the thought that was going through my mind before construction on Titanic began. Because why would I want to build an exact replica like the one that they used in the movie, with every rivet in place and every little deck plank in place exactly as it was? There would be no point in creating another perfect version of the ship if it already existed. Tin had to have her own character, like a cartoon version, something that represented a complete rebellion against everything we hold dear as complete perfection. That's why a lot of the times when you watch Tintanic videos, you'll find I've used rock music and music that stem from the era, but that has a twist, like it's rebellious. You know, when those thin rake supermodels once walked the catwalk and everybody decided that there was an alternative rule to what true beauty really was? All of a sudden, plus-size models with full figures became the new beauty mark on the ramp. It was considered to be unattractive if you're too perfect in every way. She's a plus-size model, 9 decks on the inside with 4,000 rooms, with curves and exaggerated windows and oversized rivets. And she can't float, but yet she is still beautiful. She is imperfect in practically every way. As a society, I think we place too much emphasis on perfection. We're so vain that we always think that we're better than somebody else, and yet we are insistent on telling people that they should be happy with themselves and their appearance, and there's nothing wrong with simplicity. This is what the simplicity of Tintanic teaches us, that beauty is in the eye of the beholder. She wasn't created by a team of people. She was brought to life by one person out of pure passion for the Titanic as a subject. The terrible stories of that tragic event in the dark a century ago are still told in exactly the same powerful way, but more creatively. Other static museum quality models of the Titanic are always behind glass and in display cases with no way to connect to the history other than looking at it and reading about it. Whereas Tin is an open book that allows anyone from any kind of background and with any kind of skill level the opportunity to admire her close up. You can sit down, learn about the tragedy and the events of that night and what really happened in rooms and what those rooms contained, and literally have a hand in bringing her back to life in an artistic impression. A woman once walked up to the Tintanic at one of her first exhibitions and asked me from behind the chain barrier if I would allow her daughter to come in and touch the Tintanic. But then she explained to me that her daughter was blind, and by touching Tintanic, she would be able to see what others do. I broke into tears because in that moment I realized that I had created something that touched people and would literally allow them to touch her back. This scenario has repeated itself in so many ways, where so many special institutions have brought groups of disabled people, blind folks out to the Titanic, and it always touches me and everybody else around who sees it, that this is what she was built for, to establish a more personal connection, an experience that was not possible anywhere else in the world. It makes me so proud to be her creator. Tin is a model that can lift off 48 interior deck sections with 4,000 rooms and shows her insides to an audience. You can literally take out the first-class dining room and have people admire and participate in her interior decoration. Laying down floor tiles, making figurines, positioning furniture, painting walls, it leaves you with a feeling of pride that you have been credited as being part of that art. This is something that no other Titanic model in the world can do. They say that you should never meet your childhood hero. I unfortunately did. A very well-known, egotistical historian and author, very high up in the ranks, a person who I had admired for years when I was growing up. When I asked him if he had any advice for me, because I would like to make my living out of the Titanic as he did, to live a Titanic life, simply told me, give it up. After this, Tintanic went on to tour 21 cities in 6 different provinces, spanning a tour that lasted more than 5 years and traveling a distance in excess of 10,000 kilometers with an audience of more than 10 million visitors. All proudly sponsored by the vintage soap brand Vinolia, the original advertiser for the real Titanic in 1912. You see, my hero forgot one thing. It wasn't about the money. It was about the passion. And I did it all by myself. Tintanic is the story of a survivor, and I'm not talking about a Titanic survivor. I'm referring to myself, and how the Titanic saved me from a life in the Free State. She encourages people to think outside the cardboard box and to reach for their dreams, whatever they are, and to never give it up. Moving the Titanic is a complex procedure. It takes up to 10 hours to break down the ship and 10 hours to reinstall elsewhere, whether it's in a storage unit or in a display area. We start by taking all the interior deck sections out, and there are 48 of them, and they are quite heavy. And then we split the hull into 2 sections. The forward half measures 4.2 meters and the aft section measures 4.5. Then it is loaded onto a sizable 4 or 5 ton truck or a long enough trailer or flatbed measuring at least 4 meters in length. All the interior decks that were taken out previously then make their way to the hull pieces loaded on the transport, and I basically build the entire ship inside the truck or the trailer again. When we reach the offload destination, it's the same process, but in reverse. I prefer trucks over trailers any day because in a truck you can position everything and not worry about anything blowing away. On an open trailer you are exposing the art to the elements: wind, rain, hail, sunshine, intense heat. And it always bloody rains when I'm moving the Tintanic. Trailers have an advantage though. If it's a long distance haul, more than 1,000 kilometers, they prove to be the more cost-effective mode of transport. Not ideal, but it works. Thank you so much for tuning in today on the special edition podcast. Tintanic, the Ship of My Dreams, airs a new episode every month on the Tintanic YouTube channel. Please like, comment, share and subscribe if you would like to follow us on our incredible journey. If you live in South Africa, you can still catch the Tintanic on the upper level of Loneal Shopping Centre in Sandton ahead of our international 2025 World Tour. Tickets are available at Cricket Online Tickets for every last Saturday of every month. See you there!
April
19?
12. 9, 12.
I guess the bumps.
And the passengers didn't even notice.
And who was the guy that put the binoculars in the sank?
Officer David Black.
Absolutely
And he forgot
correct.
to hand over the key. He forgot to hand over the key.
This video is proudly sponsored by Academy Brushware, giving you a quality start for a quality finish.